Good morning, all my fabulous people. I am Tiffany Fox, and we are here today to talk about colored pencil, teaching colored pencil on a scaffold, getting kids to this level of work. And how do we do that? And how do we get them engaged? And how do we keep them engaged? And all of those things. So I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to get started. And I just thank you all for being here. I cannot tell you, on a weekend, and a lot of you are on fall break, the fact that you chose to spend some time with me is it's very humbling, and I appreciate it more than you could ever know, especially if you've never been with me before. Welcome. And if you have, welcome back. And let's get started. All right, we're sharing some screen here. If you've been with me before, you know I am so not very tech savvy, but we are going to make the best of it. So we're talking about teaching colored pencil. We're talking about using a scaffolded approach. Why do we even use a scaffolded approach? I don't know. Is there a reason? You better believe there's a reason, and you're about to find out what it is if I can figure out how to advance this. So this is just a little bit about me. I am certified K-12 art teacher. I was in North Carolina for 13 years, teaching in a suburban high school right outside of Charlotte. 2,000 kids, big class sizes, 30, 35, your typical suburban high school. I taught everything from Art 1 all the way up to AP Studio Art, which is now called AP Art and Design. Before I was a teacher, I was a colored pencil artist. So this has kind of always been my wheelhouse, and it's always been my love. And I came to teaching late in life. I was 41 when I started teaching. And I always thought, if I'm blessed enough to get in the classroom, I am going to teach colored pencil because I just loved it so much. I knew what a great, vibrant medium it was. And so I did that for 13 years. I have since relocated with my husband down to South Carolina because my daughter is recently married and starting a new family, and we are expecting little baby Isabel in December. So I am now a full-time curriculum designer slash art educator, professional development facilitator, if you will. My website is mrstfoxresources.com. Everything that I do is on that website. If you're interested, if you want to see more student work, if you'd like to see my workshops, if you'd like to see my resources, and this is the first time we've ever met, that's the best place to find everything that I am about. And it's mrstfoxresources.com. It's brand new. We just overhauled it. And my tech guru, Christy Johnson, with Christy Johnson Creative, she designed it. And it's beautiful. So you need to check it out. And it's just a great place to if you're like, who is this chick and what is she all about? This is a great place to find out who this chick is. So this is just some of my work, just to let you know, you're in good hands. I've done this for a hot minute. And so let's talk about drawing scaffolds, if I can figure out how to advance this here. So the drawing scaffold, the way I teach it, I just wanted to show you where colored pencil falls in the lineup. I teach drawing like this, and there is actually another YouTube that's already on my channel, and it goes through the first four drawing stages, how I lay the groundwork for kids to get to colored pencil and have a lot of success. So there is definitely a growing process through the skills and techniques of learning to draw before they ever get to color. So with an 18-week schedule, which is what we had 18 weeks, we had block scheduling. Colored pencil fell within the last 3 weeks. So all of these units are approximately 3 weeks. And when we got to color, by the time we got there, these kids were so confident and so ready to rock and roll with it. There was no pushback. There was no whining. There's nothing. So this works. If you are somebody who's new to teaching art and you're thinking, I don't even know how to go about teaching drawing. I don't know how to be successful. And I don't know how to get all kids to be successful. It's really easy for the kids who come in and they're already gifted or talented in drawing. It's easy for them to be successful. And I think that's great. And I love having talented kids in the classroom. But what about the rest of the people? So my curriculum is very much geared to all students, success for all students. So this is where it falls. So just in your mind, as I'm talking today, and you're like, well, what would I do before this? Or, this is what I do. I go through line drawing, then we go through drawing with shapes, then we go through negative space. Value is graphite pencil. So, learning value using graphite, so adding your darks. And then high contrast drawing is white colored pencil on black paper, which we're not going to talk about today, but it falls right before full on color. And I'm just going to have to do a webinar on high contrast, but it deserves its own webinar because it is really cool and the kids absolutely love it. So check this out when you get a chance. If you haven't heard enough from me on this one, check that out because it's really informative and I break it all the way down. So why would anybody even think about scaffolding a technique? I mean, why would that be a teaching approach? All right. Especially for colored pencil. Colored pencil is expensive. Listen, even if you're using Crayola, I never talk to the kids in the sense of, like cheap versus expensive, anything like that. Materials are materials, all right? And we need to respect the materials and we need to use the materials the way that they need to be used so that we can get the most out of the medium. So it doesn't matter what you're using something and the kids need to know how to respect that. So, but if you're using Prismas, they're definitely expensive. All right. So the medium itself is not forgiving. This is not a medium that you can manipulate. And if things go south in the middle of the process, it's almost impossible to bring it back. And there's various reasons for that. But the kids need time to get good before you throw them a project, before you say, hey guys, this is what we're going to do. And it's going to be amazing. And then you give them the pencils and the big paper and they go, they freak out or they check out or, all of the above that we're going to talk about in just a minute. They need to ease into it. The scaffold builds the confidence and the scaffold builds the confidence in those first 4 sections that I was talking about also. Anytime you ease somebody into something new, I don't care what it is, you're going to get a better result at the end. And confident students are invested students. And when you go to your classroom every single day, here's the kicker. You have to be there too. All right. So my desire for you and my desire for all my educators that I work with is that I want you to have a peaceful, productive work environment that you can go to every single day and look forward to going to. So you're not laying in bed at night with massive anxiety because you're going into some kind of a storm every day where there's just chaos and things aren't going like they need to go. So this scaffolded approach to teaching, I have it for my painting too, like my painting, the way I teach painting, it's all scaffolded. There's also a webinar on that. Get on my YouTube and look at it. I just learned early on, and we'll talk about that. I get ahead of myself all the time. If I just take some calculated steps, the results are so much better. And we want the kids to be invested. We want all the kids to be invested. Like I said before, not just the creative ones. So this was my personal experience. Remember, I'm 41. I'm a colored pencil artist. I'm excited. I love colored pencil. I go into the classroom. I'm great guns a-blazing. Let's do this thing. We're going to do these awesome colored pencil pieces. I come up with what I consider to be brilliant projects. And I present the project, like I said before, hey guys, this is what we're going to do. And here's the pencil and here's the paper. And, of course, I would show them a presentation. Here's what you can do. Here's, some basics. But then I'm like, let's go. Let's do it. And here's what happened. 10% of the kids crushed it. Of course, those are your talented, creative kids, the kids that come in with the natural, innate ability. 60% of my kids, they are just limping along. I mean, struggle bus city, and whining, complaining. I'm constantly trying to get everybody on task. Everybody's just, they'll work for a few minutes and you know how it is. It's like you're just trudging through the mud trying to get people to the finish line. And then I had 30% of my kids who were like, not only do I not know what I'm doing, not only am I frustrated, and not only am I feeling very inadequate sitting next to creative kid here, but so I think I'm just going to bust up some pencils. And this right here is what you end up with. Don't you love when the class clears out, the bell rings, everybody leaves, and you look at the floor and you see broken pencils? Like, it just completely was stabbing me in the heart. And I just was like, what am I doing wrong? So I'm a person who reflects, and you, if you are educators, are people who reflect. We reflect on our practice. We decide how we're going to make it better. So I said to myself, I got to back up. I got to do something. And I kind of had a revelation. I had a takeaway. I was fortunate enough to be working with a girl who was just amazing art educator. Her name's Jess Summers. She's a professional painter and she's amazing. And she, kind of got me aside when I was teaching drawing and when I was trying to teach painting. And she's the one who said, "Hun, you got to slow it down." So I just took that advice and I translated it into colored pencil. Drawing makes people anxious. The next time you walk into a group of even adults, if you get everybody together and you say, "Hey guys, why don't we draw?" You start hearing all of the pushback, the stick figure comments, the "I can't draw a straight line." Kids are nervous about it. So this is why I don't do color until the end of the semester, because I want all of this out of the way. I want them to be confident with the line and the shape and the negative space and the value, so that when we get to color, which is difficult, they're ready to go. All right. And remember what I said before, if the kids are confident, if they're coming into this unit 15 weeks into the class and they're like, number one, we trust the teacher. She knows, she's proven in the last 4 units that not only can we do it, but we can crush it. And we know that we're safe and we know what our goal is. The mission and the mindset in my class was always, you're going to be fabulous. We have an attitude of excellence. We're all on a mission and nothing is going to detract us from that. So that was the way that I approached the very beginning of the semester. And we set the mission and the mindset from day one. So by the time we're on week 15, they got it. All right. I am all about identifying learning targets. If I'm presenting something to the students, my question to myself is, what do I want them to learn? How am I going to get them to learn it? And then when it's all over, how am I going to know they learned it? So with colored pencil, I wanted them to know how to apply the medium. I wanted them to know how to blend, layer, and let me just start to say this. As we progress through the scaffold, everything you're going to see in the scaffold, I've put together a bundle at the end of this webinar. It's not a TPT bundle. It's a bundle of some of my lessons from beginner to advanced, so that if you want to access that at the end of the webinar, all of the things that are in those lessons will answer all of the questions that I'm going to talk about today. Like if you're thinking, well, gosh, I wonder how she teaches that. There are tutorials, there are presentations, there are reference photos. All the legwork has been done. All you have to do is download, print, upload tutorials and presentations and rock and roll. Okay. So I just wanted to let you know prior, if you're, just in case you have to bug out early in this webinar, that at the end, that's where you're going to be able to access it. So how are the kids going to know how to read a reference photo? And then how are they going to customize the rich colors? Let me just stop for a second and tell you that when your kids come into your foundations classes, if they're coming from middle school, they've only used colored pencil. Probably they've most likely only used colored pencil one way. And that's almost like a magic marker. So flat color, no blending, no value work, no dimension. That's what they know. So instead of us thinking, like they're just too heavy handed, they just can't do it. It's not that they can't do it. It's not that they can't do this. It's that they've never done that. They've only done this. And there's nothing wrong with this. This has its place. But if we're going to teach them to use colored pencil like this, we need to remember that they're coming from a place we need to break those old habits and introduce new studio habits. So if we're going to have them creating customized rich color, we're going to have to re-establish the way the pencil touches the paper. And that's lightly, softly, and with nice blending. So here is the overall scaffold. This is the whole unit. We start with value scales. We go to spheres. We go to a practice drawing next, and then we go to a final project. This is actually the scaffold for every medium I teach. If I'm teaching white colored pencil, this is the scaffold. If I'm teaching graphite pencil, this is the scaffold. If I'm teaching watercolor, this is the scaffold, because it works. And if it ain't broke, I don't fix it, because it works every single time. What you see behind me is the result of the scaffold and what you're seeing right here. So let's break it down. Value scales, single most important thing you're going to do with your kids, no matter what medium you teach. Kids need to get to know the medium. I taught high school. I called this the casual dating phase. All right. This is where you decide what this pencil is going to do. Is it going to show up on time? Is it going to call you back? Is it going to be nice? Is it going to pay for dinner? Like you have to understand what you're working with, and you have to understand what this is going to do when it hits the paper. What's it going to do when you press hard? What's it going to do when you press soft? What's it going to do when you try to erase? This right here, all of these value scales, this is where they work the kinks out. This is where they learn to create dark values. This is where they learn to create rich hues. This is where they learn all the basics, okay? This is not intimidating. This is a rectangle. This is a rectangle. This is a heart. I have all kinds of value scales in my TPT shop. I have an entire section in there on just teaching colored pencil on a budget, and all of those lessons are designed for Crayola. What I gave you today in the bundle is let me get this straight. I'm sorry, I can't talk. A colored pencil comparison, brand comparison chart. So Prismacolor Premier, Prismacolor Scholar, Blick colored pencils, and Crayola colored pencils. There's a chart in the bundle at the end that gives you the comparison so you can cross-reference if you're not using Prismas. The lessons are designed with Prisma, but you don't have to have Prismas, but I give you the chart to help the kids. And you can just print the chart nice and small and then give it to the kids, and it's very, very easy for them to work through. All they really need to do is become familiar with the colors. So they're really only going to need that brand chart for the value scales, because once they familiarize themselves, I tell them they need to learn the color names. It's almost like making a new friend. You need to get to know the medium before you can really do awesome things with the medium. So the learning target, remember I said, what do I want them to learn? The learning target here is color theory. What happens when they try to make a dark value? We don't use black in my classroom. We don't use a black colored pencil. So they have to work those rich dark values with the cool colors and with the complementary colors. Not too much complement, because you don't want to dull it down too much. So then we come in with the cool colors, and all that's explained in the lessons. And they're learning in this lesson right here about craftsmanship, and how important it is, and how important the burnishing is, and how to lay the pencil down in a nice, neat fashion. So this is not intimidating. And this is where they're going to make their mistakes, take their notes, get to know the pencils before they do anything else. The kids always told me in feedback, this was the most important thing they ever did. When I taught painting for the very first time and we did this, the kids were like, if we hadn't done that, Fox, we would have never, ever been successful. They love it. So don't think that they're not going to love it, because they really do. And then we progress to a sphere. So now that we know, this is what we know how to create dark values. We know how to create light values. We know how to create rich hues. We know how to do it all without using black. Now we're going to go from shape to form. So we're going to add value. We're adding on what they already know, is what I just told you. What we're adding on is a soft transition of value. And if you're thinking, oh man, we're just kind of creeping along. Yes, we are. But we get this at the end. And you only have to do this once. This is not something you have to do over and over with colored pencil. Once they understand, and once they've done these foundational exercises, then the sky's the limit. You can go crazy with concept. You can go crazy with choice. but this is your ticket to fabulousness. So like I said before, I am just such a firm believer that the confidence building foundational exercises are so important. And you can do this sphere a number of ways. You can do these tinier spheres, like this is a tiny one. These guys right here are 5 by 5 inches. And this guy right here is probably 3 by 2. It just depends. Like maybe you're only teaching on a period schedule and maybe you don't have a lot of time to spend on a big sphere. Do a little one. In all of the materials that I have at the end of this webinar, all of these things are included in all different, forms and sizes. So customize it to your, your learning situation, because everybody's not in the same boat. If you just may not have as much time. So you're going to need to keep things smaller so that you can get through them quicker. The kids are going to learn. It's just not going to be, it's not going to be as long and drawn out because you don't have time. So creating the soft transition of the hue and the value, that's what we're learning here. So we need to digress for just a second and talk about the snooze factor. Is this exciting right here? No. Are value scales exciting? No. As teachers, what we want is this over here. This is what we want, okay? We want this. We want to go and just, congressional contest, and we want scholastics, and we want VASE, and we want, the state, whatever. And this stuff is all worthy of that. And don't get me wrong. I always loved competing. I got a whole slew of medals. I get it. I totally get it, but we can't shortchange the process. So is this exciting? No. Is it necessary? Absolutely. Absolutely. So save your razzle dazzle until you get those techniques in line. You'll get more razzle dazzle. What you'll get from the kids who come in already creative and already kind of naturally talented is you'll get off the chain crazy. Like they will even say to you, oh my gosh, I thought I was good before I came in here. And now I'm like this girl right here was in 10th grade and she was talented, but she said to me, I would never believe I would do something like this. And the same with this one. This girl was in, I think, 11th grade. This was a 10th grader. This was a 10th grader. So, and they're all like Fox, I loved it, but I didn't know how good I could possibly be. So this is your step number 3 is your practice drawing. All right. So now they've done the value scale. They've done the sphere. They understand transition. They understand hue, value. They know all the mechanics. Now they get to draw stuff. You want to keep the stuff for the practice drawing nice and small. Don't go straight to the final project after the sphere. Give them a chance to apply the drawing skills that they learned in the first 4 units to the colored pencil. So I keep the practice drawings super small. These guys right here are 3 by 3. These gummy bears are 3 by 3. This little guy right here was 2 by 2. These are on a worksheet that's included in the resources. So there's a lot of stuff that's on worksheets. And I include all the reference, all the reference photos, but keep it small and keep it, just nice, just a couple days that they're working on it. Don't drag due dates way out. I'll talk about that in a minute too. Give them enough time that they can get it done. Give them enough time that they can get it done well, but not too much time that they, just sort of, because people are people. This is the human condition when it comes to the amount of time we have to do something. If I have a lot of time to do something, I don't do it. I just don't. That's the human condition. Kids are even worse. If they think 2 weeks is an eternity. So just say to them, I talk to the kids a lot of times in terms of minutes. We run a 90-minute block. And I would say, you know what, you guys got 180 minutes to get this done. And they'd be like, what? I'm like, yeah, 180 minutes. That's it. That's all you got. And I mean, they would get down to business. So listen, however you want to deliver it and sell it, do it. This is our final project stage. And this is where the razzle dazzle comes in. All right. So they've got the skills. They've got the technique. They've got the confidence. They know how to work hard. So remember, the first framework of the class is that our mission is hard work, best we can be, fabulous. That's our mindset. That's our mission. That's how we function. That's who we are. So this is not don't do this. I never talked in any kind of negative terms with the kids. I was just this is who you are. You are amazing. You are fabulous. You are going to do great things, but it's going to take some work. That's why they call it art work. All right. So you still want to keep these relatively small. I never do anything in art one or drawing one that's over probably 8 by 10. That's my max. Just because colored pencil is intense. It's a lot of layering. It's a lot of blending. It's a lot of work. If you're giving them something that's this big, what they'll do is this amazing part that's down here in the corner, and then you'll see the burnout. You'll see that just get less and less and less and less, it's just, and then you're just thinking, why couldn't they hang on? Because it's too much. It's too much. So learning targets here, scaling up an image. Remember, they learned that in the first 4 sections, and keeping accurate scale and proportion. None of these drawings were done with a grid. So this is all freehand. By the time we get to week 15, they're using basic shapes most of the time. Now, my kids with mods, I will definitely let them use a grid, but I'll let them choose. I'll say, listen, if you'd like to use a grid, you absolutely use a grid. But a lot of times they're like, no, we're good. We're fine. So we want them to develop all the hues and the values because they know how to read the reference photo. They know how to identify value and hue changes and value transitions. And then you get this crazy, crazy, amazing work. And all of these projects are in the bundle at the end, but this one, especially the candy, they just love it. I always try to think of interesting subject matter. I always try to think like a teenager. What would I want to draw? What would I be interested in? Things like candy, even the paint blobs, the glass and the foil, this was drawing too. I brought these glasses in. These glasses are actually in my cabinet in my kitchen. And then we just brought some foil in and they took their own pictures. All of the photos that we took are in the lesson. So you don't even have to take the pictures if you don't want to, or if you don't have time to. Lots of times you just don't have time. You may have 7 preps. You may have 8 classes a day. That's the whole idea behind content creation, is to save you time. So the overview of sizing, everything you see here is beginners, is for the sphere drawings, I would keep them between 3 and 5 inches. Or use the worksheets. Those are 2 by 3. So those are nice and small. Practice drawings, keep those small, 3 by 3, 5 by 5. If the gummy bears that are in the bundle at the end, they have these adorable little frames, like little picture frames that you print, and the kids cut their drawing out. And then you have this gorgeous little gallery display. Your final project, no bigger for your beginning classes than 8 by 10. Keep it small. Here's the other beautiful thing. You don't have to store these gigantic drawings anywhere. If everything is 8 by 10, kids can keep it in a manila folder. Like, make it easy for yourself. You may have, 200 kids coming in and out of your class, and you just don't have any place to store. And when you're dealing with big pieces of paper, you guys know how it is. They get the paper, they put it back. They get the paper out, they put it back. It's wrinkled. The ends of it are all curled under, because if there are 4 or 5 to a table, it just can get disastrous. And even if they draw something gorgeous, the paper's so wrinkled and it looks like it's been, through a battle by the time they get done. So that's the other cool thing. It's easy to mat. It's easy to frame. It's easy to display. I always display in progress work in my class. So at the end of the day, this is all in my classroom management workshop. We would put everything up on the wall, even in progress, just to motivate. And you just don't want burnout. You want investment with no burnout. You want confidence with no discouragement. You want kids who are checked in and not checked out. So these are your basic tips for success. The pencils have to be sharp and the due dates have to be short. All right. You want to stress the layering. All of that is in the lessons. You want to stress the patience, because this is not something that they're going to do overnight. They've got to get used to it. They've got to get the feel of the wax. They've got to get the feel of the paper. Most of all, you stress that capability that everybody can do something amazing. I wanted to show you these. These are from other teachers, and I have the Instagram if you want to follow their Instagram. Jennifer Douglas does not have an Instagram yet for her kids, but she is a teacher down in Florida and she is amazing. She is in the Facebook groups, the high school Facebook groups. Jennifer Kembrink Douglas is actually her Facebook name. And you need to either reach out to her or just she is just doing amazing things with the kids with colored pencil. But look at this. This is 8th grade. Like, this is 8th grade. Yvette Ackerman sent this to me last night. Like, she tagged me on Instagram and I said, can I share this? Look at that. That's 8th grade. So your kids can do this. Look at this. I mean, these are absolutely beautiful. This is Joy Keith, and this is Lynn Marie Paris. And Lynn Marie actually won the Congressional Art Contest in, I believe I hope I'm saying this right. I think it's the state of New York, 2 times with colored pencil pieces. And they all used my curriculum, foundational elements of my curriculum. And this is Joy Keith out of Fernandina Beach, Florida. And they're just all amazing. And it's, if you use the curriculum and you have success, which I know you will, please, please, please contact me, because I love to see it. All right. I absolutely, my drug of choice is watching people succeed. I'm getting a bumper sticker or a t-shirt or something. If you've been with me before, you know that I think the real win is when your students with accommodations have success. And this medium is no exception. These kids do beautiful things. Look at the blending. Look at the blending right here. I mean, y'all, seriously, look at this. And I'm going to be completely transparent. This one right here was a distance learning during COVID. So this right here was done through watching the tutorials at home. And this young man, oh my gosh, I was so stinking proud of him. I couldn't even stand it. And just anybody can have success if they are prepared and they are set up for success. So just a matter of walking through the steps of anything. It doesn't matter what it is. If I prepare the kids to learn to use colored pencil, this is what they're going to do. And these are my beautiful kids with mods. And I just love it. That, to me, that's the big win. Listen, like I said before, I'm all about getting the talented kids in the room. That's fun. It's awesome. It's beautiful. It's fantastic to see what they do. But this, to me, right here is the real win. It really is. So, okay. Before I start crying, I better go on to the very last. This is our last slide. Okay. If you think you are interested in trying this out, I have taken my 8 favorite colored pencil lessons. Okay. So, and I've also given you the comparison chart, and I have given you the, my drawing supply list that has everything that I buy and all of the clickable links for all of drawing. So everything from the very first day to the very end to teaching AP art and design. So everything I buy for my beginners to advanced, that list is also in this bundle. So there's 8 lessons. This is not a TPT link. So this is not a TPT. This is just a separate download. I have shortened all the names of the folders in case you're on a PC, because sometimes you have that zip extraction problem where, you know, if the name is too long. So I have shortened everything to alleviate that problem. And all of these lessons, all of them, with the exception of the very first, oh, look, my E's in the, oh gosh, guys, what did I do? Hang on, let me go back. No, I don't want it to do that. So my E's in the wrong place here, I just noticed. But with the exception of this very first colored pencil lesson, that one does not have a tutorial, but there is a tutorial on my YouTube and there is a tutorial on my Thinkific that's free. So both of those places have a free value scale tutorial. This is your spheres. This is your mini candies, your colored pencil candy, your candy ocean. This is your paint blob, and the foil and the glass is so much fun to do with your advanced kids. And then this is green silverware that I melted. So sort of like a green surrealistic silverware kind of a thing. Just hopefully you will, you know, just be excited to try something out. If you already have all of these, there are more on my TPT. And if you are just really interested in seeing what else, you know, the kids have done, You can see my kids' work on my Pinterest, Mrs. T. Fox Resources. You can see the kids' work on my Instagram, Mrs. T. Fox Resources, and of course on my website at mrstfoxresources.com. Please get on my email list. I send a newsletter. I was sending one every week, but I think I'm going to go to every other week just because y'all get too much email and you don't need an email from me every week. So I think that's going to be my new plan moving forward. And I just thank you for joining me. This is an exciting medium. Your kids can do this, and you are going to see great things come out of your classroom. So y'all just have an absolute fabulous day. I am going to stop the share, and I am going to just thanks for joining me, and we shall see you all soon.